Hello again, YouTube! This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm here with Scribblenauts Unlimited. That's the name of this game, and I'm using the Object Editor. These are the Object Editor commentaries. Basically, the Object Editor is just available on the Wii U and PC versions of this game, but you can use it to create objects, characters, weapons, vehicles, all sorts of stuff. So what I'll do in this series is I just create whatever is most popular or most requested by you in the comments section. The most amount of different viewers, that's whatever I create each week. And so we've got the Plants vs. Zombies from the first game. This is going to be the pool plants. And if you see right now, we started off with a STEPSTOOL as the source object. And when you click that little stamp icon down there in kind of the bottom middle, a little bit to your right, there's a panel of buttons that you can use on the left side. And one of them accesses what I call the 29-page library. And basically, this is just a collection of shapes. You can see it on screen right now. There's a lot of different body parts and things like that. But for the main part of the lily pad, which is what we're creating right now from Plants vs. Zombies, the kind of main parts of it are from the 22nd page. There's a tooth fairy wing that is this weird shape that you can see. It almost looks like some wings a little bit. Well, that wing shape we've actually done 3 times. So again, it's this one that's kind of in the bottom middle, just the main part of the lily pad, and then twice those 2 little protrusions up above that. And so, of course, we've used arm shapes from the 29-page library for these little eyebrow eyelid type slits right there, just above the eyes. The actual main part of the eyes right there is a BB, and we just did a pimple twice to be the pupil on both eyes. And so again, those arm shapes that come from the 29-page library, the one to our left is on the 10th page. It's like this green mutant arm, and then the one on the right comes from the 20th page, bottom middle. And so we're naming it the PVZ lily pad because the last kind of 2 stamps that we did were the jellyfish upper tentacle pieces. They basically just look like lines right there above the eyes and kind of where all those tooth fairy wings intersect. But anyway, this is the properties editor where you can edit health and things like that. The lily pad is pretty simple, so it doesn't take a lot of scripts or anything like that, but you can see actually on screen we just put the squash. You'll see how to create that a little bit later on, but since we started off with a STEPSTOOL as the source object, it floats in water and objects can float on top of it, so it's very fitting for the lily pad in my opinion. But we're gonna go ahead and start off with MAXWELL as the source object for this next creation. This is going to be the Tangle Kelp. Hopefully you noticed that we took off all the limbs and we took off the head, and now I'm putting lint right on the body or the torso part from MAXWELL, and the lint we can just paint black, pretty much all the way black. Black as night. And twiddle is what I'm typing in right now. It's this kind of tilde accent shape. I'm typing in octopus right now. We're going to kind of grab this tentacle piece that's a little bit to our right, but it's basically very close to the octopus's body. It's a pretty wide angled open octopus tentacle piece. And then I also took another one that's almost straight but has a slight bend on it for the bottom. And so you can see that all this is kind of going around the lint, that main piece of lint that we just did. You can use so many different synonyms for this stamp right here, but I'm typing in tendril and using that twice to be these sort of points on the top of its head or whatever. And sandworm is what we just typed in, and we took the very back tail piece, which is kind of 2 pieces connected to each other, and that's going to be right there in between those 2 points on the Tangle Kelp's head. I'm typing in now a black mamba, and we take the very back tail piece of the black mamba, and then a mango. So the black mamba is going to be painted red to be an eye to our right, Tangle Kelp's left side, but then the mango is going to be for the other eye on the other side. And now just typing in cornmeal. Cornmeal is a stamp that I have not used in this series before, so it's kind of interesting to be using something new after all these episodes. But yeah, you can put the cornmeal, basically a darkish pink red color, and put that behind the 2 eyes of your Tangle Kelp, and that looks pretty good. So we'll go with an Adam's apple next. I'm going to put the Adam's apple after painting it this green color that the rest of the Tangle Kelp is. We're going to put that kind of to our right side in the corner, and just doubling up on these octopus tentacles here that are at the bottom. Now going back to that 29-page library of shapes, we can actually grab an arm from the 3rd page, kind of in the bottom row. You should see it. It's this fat looking little arm right there. We did 2 of those down here on the bottom next to these octopus tentacles, or over these octopus tentacles I should say. Now typing in octopus once again, we can actually grab on the right side and kind of behind most of the tentacles that the octopus has, there's this little like hook type shaped tentacle right there. It's like bottom right corner, I guess you could say, from the octopus whenever you type that in. And so now going back to the 29-page library again to grab a 22nd page, grabbing an arm there in the bottom, well, second to bottom row, and putting that for another connector piece right here. here, and we're gonna type in frog legs. Haven't used this stamp in a while, but it looks really good for the Tangle Kelp to really show off all this Tangle Kelpiness of the Tangle Kelp. That makes a lot of sense. But we just ran out of stamp space. I'll describe that probably a few times in this episode, but we need to move quickly because there are a lot of plants to create, a lot of characters that we're doing in the object editor today. And so here again in the properties editor where we're doing health and stuff like that, I usually just read background information and fun facts. Since Tangle Kelp is going to have a little bit more scripting to it than the lily pad did, we can go ahead and read it now. But being that I spoke of many background facts and info in the first Plants vs. Zombies episode that I did, which was the day plants, and after having created the night plants, it's now time to maybe just give the fun facts about the pool stages and plants specifically. So the pool area is the third set of 10 levels in Plants vs. Zombies Adventure Mode. Obviously this is for PvZ1, if it wasn't clear at this point, but it's in the backyard of the player's house. But unlike the front lawn levels, there are 6 rows on the lawn instead of 5. The middle 2 rows are for the pool. The way that I'm categorizing which plants get made in this series is not only based on what the official wiki shows here on screen, but it's basically by which plants are new unlocked plants for the levels. This does not include the upgrade plants. Those will probably have to be in either a 2-part episode kind of at the end, or maybe we can do it in one, who knows, but that's for the future. But for example, pool consists of Tangle Kelp, lily pad, squash, Threepeater, Jalapeno, Torchwood, and tall nut. Hopefully you can catch this as I'm talking about it, but basically here in the properties editor, we've done a script. It's the last tab for scripting. We basically did when this object moves near an object, and only a distance of 1, then it will destroy an object, and then we're going to also have another destroy script so that it will basically, the Tangle Kelp will destroy itself, but it will also destroy the trigger target, which the idea is that a zombie is going to swim towards it, and whenever it gets within 1 distance of it, like here, we're going to put it on the map and check it out right now in action. You actually don't need to type in swimming zombie. The zombies will swim if you put them in water. I don't know why I did that, but in essence right there, when the zombie got close enough, basically the zombie disappeared, but so did the Tangle Kelp. So it's like the game, you know, it's, we need to put the Tangle Kelp, there we go. So basically, if the Tangle Kelp is facing the zombie or whatever, the script will work. So moving right along, we'll go with a praying mantis as the source object. We're gonna basically remove all of the praying mantis's limbs, except for we'll keep the head right here, and basically put any of these stamps right now on the head. So we're gonna start off with a pair to go over the head, and this is gonna be for the squash. So I mentioned stamp limitations before and everything. Basically, like, we're typing in octopus right now and grabbing this tentacle piece on the left side. This is a stamp, just like the pear was, you know, anything that we use to create our object overall. We're gonna type in a pike right now. It's this fish. We're gonna kind of take this bottom fin that is near the head, and that's gonna be the stem. But, you know, that's a stamp too. So we do have a limit, even though the game is called Scribblenauts Unlimited, there is a limit to how many stamps you can put down in this game for one object. So sometimes, you know, if you see in my series, I'll create heads and bodies separately because we may run out of stamp space on the head object, so then we need to create the body separately and just give the head scripted to fit onto the body on the top. That won't really apply probably for this Plants vs. Zombies episode, although it might with the Threepeater. But let's see, we typed in dot and did that 3 times. There's 2 dots, of course, for the whites of the eyes right here, but also a dot there on the stem, but on the edge of the stem. And a pimple is going to be for the pupils here for the eyes that we're typing in. And then I'm going to type in a squid, and we'll grab this kind of line. It's in essence a tentacle piece that is right next to the squid's body on the bottom side. But when you take it out all by itself, it just looks like a line. And we're going to do the same with the jellyfish right here. So that's all coming together for its mouth. So, you know, we got the squid one to our left and then the jellyfish one to our right to be a little bit smaller on that side. And we'll go with some more dots right here. The dots are going to be like these bumps and things like that. We'll probably do a few more of them, but first I'm going to type in a chimera fish and grab that fin. It's got a fin that's kind of pointing upwards, and so that's going to be like a dent or a little indentation, I guess, just below the lip. And I actually just put down a 29-page library arm shape from the 4th page, and I think that that's going to look a little bit better. So you can remove that chimera fish fin and maybe put this 29-page library arm shape down there for that instead. But as I mentioned, we're going to add some more dots for the bumps and stuff on this squash right here. Going back to the 29-page library, on the 20th page again, after doing those dot bumps, we can grab that same arm shape that we used a little bit earlier for other things, but it's on the 20th page, bottom middle, and that'll be for some little lines here or bags underneath the eyes, and then an eyebrow is going to go to the side of the eyes. And so here in the scripting, we can give it some health, and I'm going to change kind of the weight properties of it, and of course what people react to it as. But yes, I love the squash. It's one of my favorite pool plants for usefulness. Maybe not by design, but definitely for its usefulness. It's great. So after some more scripting, we're basically just making it so that it can be sat upon if you want to do that. It just as a fun thing, you know, that's not really related to Plants vs. Zombies necessarily. But here we're going to go ahead and do when this object moves near an object. And again, under that, we actually didn't describe this for the Tangle Kelp, but you want to for all of these, you know, kind of moves near object things. We're going to set them up so that when they move near Halloween, so zombies fit under a general category. You can do like undead or scary or ugly, you know, but I do Halloween. Keep in mind, this will affect any other type of Halloween stamps or characters, I guess, in Scribblenauts. So whenever it does move near a Halloween character or object, it'll play an animation, which is the attack animation, and then it will destroy itself as well as the zombie or the Halloween character. So again, you know, if you just type in zombie right here, it will give you the categories in the game on your, if you're playing on Wii U, it has them on the gamepad. But yeah, so we can go ahead and name this PVZ Squash. Of course, there is a squash in Scribblenauts Unlimited, so whenever you type in squash, you know, it does come up with something. That's why I went ahead and put PVZ before a lot of these characters, and we're going to be doing that for the future of this episode too. So just to kind of finish off the squash's design, we are putting down some more basically squid tentacles, that upper tentacle piece, and those are going to be some lines down there at the bottom to give that shape of the squash. But then I'm going to go with a spider fish, and that's actually something that I really liked for the lip dent as well, for that bottom lip. So if you like how the spiderfish's bottom fin looks instead of the 29-page library 4th page arm that we had there instead, you can go with that or the chimera fish. You know, I just gave you 3 different options. The dent on its lip, though, looks pretty similar regardless, so it's not going to be too important for you, most likely. So we started off with a spike pit as the source object for Spikeweed right here. So you can see that I just removed the Utapam base of it, and you could see the spike pit underneath. We just shrunk the spike pit to be a little bit smaller than it usually is, because it's pretty big usually in this game. But then Fang, that's all these little spikes here on the Spikeweed, so they're all over the place. So Fang done a ton of times. And so then we're going to type in a Caudipteryx. Hopefully you can see how to spell that on screen, but I grabbed its back thigh piece, you know, close to the body, above the foot. It's that piece right there, and those are for the eyebrows of the Spikeweed here above the eyes. And then after that, I'm going to type in an octopus tentacle, and you can see that kind of opened angle octopus tentacle piece again. It was on our right side, basically. That's for some bags underneath the eyes, which are goldfish. So if you type in goldfish and grab that bottom fin, I gave it kind of a slight pink hue, but it's like almost white as well. So that's for the eyes down there. And then within that goldfish eye piece is also P-E-A, and I just turned it red, of course, for the red eyes of the Spikeweed and put them down in there, basically shrunk them as small as we could. And then the main part of it, once again, as a reminder, is none other than Utapam, the Almighty. A long time ago, it was about 2 years ago in this series, I used an Utapam as a stamp, and you could just as easily type in nan or tortilla. You know, there's a lot of synonyms for that same shape, but a lot of my subscribers loved when I said Utapam. They thought it sounded funny, and I kept saying it over and over again, and so Utapam has now like become a thing on this channel, and people have called it the Almighty Utapam and want me to scream it all the time. Utapam! And so, anyway, we're moving on with a bomb as the source object for the next character, which you can probably already see, which is coming to fruition. Typing in a tusk, of course, the bone tusk, as kind of the main body of the jalapeno right here. Golf ball twice is for the big white part of its eyes. A P is going to be for the pupils that are like green right in there. And we also did a hemisphere shape, but it comes from the, you can either if you're in Scribblenauts Unlimited, you can access the hemisphere or half sphere shape from the geometry library. You know, it's just a library or collection of various shapes, geometry. And so that's like a eyelid or whatever coming up near the second eye to our right. And so then a yarmulke is what I did for kind of the main base of the stem here at the top, and we're going to do a flying fish, the top fin of that, for the main part of the stem. And then I'm going to type in tofu right here. You can see me putting that down for the mouth, or it's going to be like the teeth because it's kind of cringing or clenching those teeth together. And so then jellyfish is going to give us a lot of detail within that tofu. And so I did actually do a second tofu next to the first tofu that we did, so it can have just a slight bend going down a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. So those jellyfish tentacle pieces were used about 5 or 6 times to be the lines of the teeth as well. And so then I did spiderfish, that bottom fin again, it's going to be for the bottom lip, and then we're going to go back to the 22nd page of the 29-page library to grab that tooth fairy wing shape from the very beginning that we did for the lily pad, and that'll be for the upper lip of the PVZ jalapeno, which we've called it right here. And so in essence, the jalapeno in the game, you know, you put it down and then it explodes after a pretty short amount of time, and so we're just going to have a script be that when this object is created, wait a set time, and that's 73 frames is what I set it for. Not too long, not too short, and then just do, then it will explode. And we did a large explosion because you could do nuclear, but it's not really a nuke or anything like that in the game, but in essence, it does have a large explosion, so that's why I did large, and I know it's not like PVZ exactly where it goes in one lane horizontally all the way, but that's Scribblenauts for you. You gotta work within the confines of this game. And we started off with a HYDRA as the next source object for the next character, and this is probably gonna be the most, I guess, intricate and challenging of the ones that I'm doing. This is gonna be the Threepeater, although, you know, hopefully it's not challenging, but I'm just speculating right now. And the HYDRA, of course, because it has 3 heads, but we shrunk down the body after taking away all the legs and feet and all that stuff, and we took away the tail, and took away the heads on each of the HYDRA heads. And so I typed in a black mamba once again. We're gonna grab that tail piece of that, and that's gonna be for some leaves down here at the base of the Threepeater at the bottom. And so octopus, we can take this tentacle piece. It's almost a straight line, but it does have slight curvature to it on both ends of it, I guess. So it is rounded off. But in essence, we're gonna grab that to be the stems, and we're gonna do it twice for each stem. So that'll be 6 times total that it's gonna be on here. You just really want to be sure where you're placing these, you know, if you have them on the necks of the HYDRA. So again, put them on the necks right here, and that's why I shrunk down these neck pieces of the HYDRA very tiny. We don't really want them to show up. Certainly the spikiness of the HYDRA may show up a little bit around the stem octopus tentacle pieces that you're creating right here, or putting down right here, I should say. And that's fine. I mean, it's a really minuscule detail that's very hard to notice when you're actually playing Scribblenauts and stuff, and so I can only see it poking out maybe on that very bottom left tentacle piece stem that I did right there. So the HYDRA, you can actually, we are going to run out of stamp space, I'm pretty sure, but I think what I'll do is I'll create the final head. So on this particular head that you see me working with, I put down an egg, and now I put down a dot for the little eyes or whatever. This is going to be just like creating the pea shooter head from my first episode, so that's what I'm doing, basically the same stamps for the most part. A snake is going to be for the leaf that's kind of there on the back. It's almost like it has hair or whatever, you know, it's got a leaf piece right there on the very back of its head. Pimple is what I'm going to type in because we have dot 3 times, but we need the kind of shine or shimmer in the eyes right there, and to get something small enough, I did pimple for that right eye, the smaller one. And so then you can type in a halo, or just grab it from one of the other kind of assortment of shapes and stuff from Scribblenauts Unlimited. It does have a kind of panel, another library, basically a 2-page library that's separate from the 29-page one. The halo is in there. You could just type in halo again, and that'll probably make your life easier right now if you don't know where it is. And that's for kind of the opening of the mouth, and we did an oval within that, and I used 2 jellyfish kind of line pieces, that tentacle piece. You know, again, it just kind of creates a black line, but that's just to sort of show some more detail next to the mouth, almost like in between the egg and the halo that we did to create the head and the mouth. It's almost like there are some kind of lips or curvature in between those 2 things. So that's what the jellyfish tentacle pieces I thought were good for. So typing in P as the weapon or whatever for the Threepeater, that P is going to be pretty tiny. So it's certainly, you could also go with probably like a circle, or find the exact word for Scribblenauts where they have that kind of green circular shape, because some of the circles these have different names, even though they all look to be the same shape in the geometry library. So to kind of end off the scripting and properties work right here for the Threepeater, we're just going to kind of make a script that's pretty basic, but once it gets attacked, loses or gains health is specifically the script that I'm going for. When this object loses or gains health, then it will add an adjective, which is brave, so that it doesn't, shy away from any fights. And then it will shoot a projectile, and I just did a big P. So you can see here on screen we are on the level now and we actually have our Threepeater kind of assembled. The way that I did this though was that I had to create the other two heads separately. So this is again what I was talking about really early on. Whenever I don't have enough stamp space to kind of make heads and bodies together, we create them separately and then attach them. So just as we created that one Threepeater head that we had on the very far end HYDRA head space, this is going to be a Threepeater head created very similarly, but of course it has 3 leaves on it because they go 3, 2, 1 on the leaves. Then you want to go down to the scripting, and in the equipment tab under the properties editor, you just want to make sure that you check off a little circle that says can be worn on the face like glasses. You can also do can be worn on the head like a hat, and that just will make it go a little bit higher, of course. And so then I've got the second Threepeater head right here, and they look a little bit small, so I'm going to edit them one more time, and we're just going to increase their size by about 2 or 3 plus sign increases right there. So those intervals look good for increasing the size of it, and now they all kind of match. So the only last kind of piece is now that I've got the heads on, I noticed that those 2 heads that I placed on separately are a little bit high up on the stems, and so we're going to edit the Threepeater object once again in the object editor, pause it here for the animation to stop, but then basically turn on the green grids. If you don't know how to do that, it's this button in the top right corner of your left side panel of objects. It's got like Maxwell's head, a banana, a wheel icon, kind of all that stuff in one. You press that button and it turns on these green grids that show all the kind of parts of your character where you can place stamps. And so just move those head grids down from the HYDRA to make your Threepeater heads be lower on the body. So we've got a tall nut right here. It's created already. We've got the Pachycephalosaurus. Basically, I used the back thigh piece of that to be sort of the main basis of the tall nut. We did that twice. So one here, kind of in our face, and then one behind it. And so the rest of it is pretty simple. We did a golf ball as the 2 big white parts of the eyes right here, and a toothpick is going to be for the eyebrows. Actually, it's got these kind of frowny eyebrows, angry or whatever, so they are pointing down right there. And then going back to the 29-page library, how many times can I say that in one episode? 20th page, bottom middle arm. We're going to grab that. That's going to be for the kind of right side. It's our right side of the mouth. It's the tall nut's left side. But since there's kind of a dip in the mouth right there, on the other side, we did that. That's 7 eyebrows there at the bottom, and then there was text to show you basically how to create everything else. Pimple for the eye pupils, stuff like that. There was a spider fish, as the bottom fin of the spider fish was for the rest of the mouth. And so that's good. So we're on our last character here. We're starting off with the square as the source object, and we're putting down croissant. The croissant are going to be basically 3 of them for the little root pieces, I guess, the stump, the little legs, I guess, of the Torchwood right here. And so the square is the main part of its body, the main stump, and then cornmeal was actually for the last kind of leg or root, I guess you could say, of the Torchwood. And I did a cuttlefish for kind of the white teeth parts and stuff, and then a goldfish is going to be for the main parts of the eyes in there. They're kind of yellowish, and a pea is going to be for the red pupils of the eyes. Spiderfish bottom fin, once again, is going to be for some actually eyebrows above that. Jellyfish upper tentacle line pieces all around. There are some that are beneath the fireballs for the fire on top. There's also one that kind of is creating the lip, I guess, that sort of upper lip. And cobia fin is actually what we just put down, and then we ran out of stamp space, so there was the warning for the stamp space once again after putting that manta ray fin on. But then we also just had a regular fin, F-I-N, and picked the organic fin off to the left, and a fingernail behind that. And there we go. We've got all of our characters without the jalapeno, because the jalapeno will explode everything on the map. I'll put it down just for some fun. Here we go. And there it goes. Okay, so it exploded a few things. But that is our crazy pool plants. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know that it had to move quickly, but otherwise this episode would be like 40 minutes long or an hour long, I don't know. But I love everybody out there in Kendopolis, and of course I will catch you on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
Down the road of twists and turns.